This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Heiler.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. So your computer died. Your brand new computer.
It wasn't exactly brand new. It was one of those rebuilds. I kind of was a little skeptical, but I was like, hey, it's a great price. And the screen just died. So there will be a strongly worded review left on Amazon about that rebuild.
I mean, at least it's been, a couple weeks?
Yeah, and it's through Amazon, so I'm sure I'll get my money back. I'll just get a different computer.
Right.
But it's annoying. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, it is, because you were just starting to, use it again.
Yeah. I liked it.
Okay. Maybe it'll start working again when you get home.
Probably.
But no, I mean, it looks like the monitor's not even connected. The cable came loose or something like that.
A loose wire in there or something. And I'm not skilled enough to take apart a laptop screen.
No, especially not one under warranty. Why would you? It's not worth the effort. Send it back. Even if you get an exact replica, it's still a better deal than trying to fix it yourself.
Totally.
So we're jumping into chapter 46, right?
Yeah. Fal Dara. And our symbol is the tree and the moon.
I always thought that was a corrupted tree from the Blight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because that's a little eyeball in there.
An eyeball? I never saw it that way.
Let me look. Oh, you're right. There's no eyeball in there.
I see how it could kind of look like one.
I thought that little knot. I always thought that little knot was an eyeball.
Huh.
It's not.
I think it is dark related, though. Don't we see that, all the Selene chapters have this heading?
I think it's the Blight related.
Yeah?
Yeah, whenever they enter the Blight, we get this. That's like a Blight tree, a corrupted Blight tree.
Huh. Thumbing through really quick to see if I can see any others. I thought we see this somewhere else, but chapter 22, A Path Chosen.
Damn you for proving me wrong.
Wait, let me see what it's about. This is Perrin waking up on the other side of the river from Shadar-Logoth.
Yeah, that's a weird symbol to use for that one. I guess it's just the trees and the moon and...
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different tree. I'm thinking of this image, which is...
I see it. It's a twisted tree.
It's a twisted tree with a droplet hanging off of it that looks very eyeball-esque. And the whole thing very much looks like a creature.
Yeah. Is that one of the trees that tries to kill them?
Yeah. And I actually thought that was the symbol that was the header.
They're really similar.
Yeah. Because they both have a moon behind them. They're both a tree. But this one is a twisted tree.
Huh.
Check the next chapter. See if it's that one.
Next chapter is Ravens 47. Chapter 48, The Blight. How's that symbol?
Okay. That's an interesting contrast. Outside the Blight, it's a normal tree. And then they go into the Blight, and it becomes the corrupted tree.
Yeah. Well, this opens up with a nice paragraph as usual. I always like reading these. The country around the Waygate was rolling, forested hills, but aside from the gates themselves, there was no sign of any ogier growth. Most of the trees were gray skeletons clawing at the sky. Fewer evergreens than Rand was used to dotted the forest, and of them, dead brown needles and leaves covered many. Lil made no comment beyond a sad shaking of his head. As dead as the blasted lands, Nynaeve said.
How does Nynaeve know what the blasted lands are like? Isn't that the area around Shale Ghul?
I was kind of wondering about that myself.
It must just be an expression, like dead as hell, or...
Is that what the blasted lands are?
Yeah, I looked it up.
It's the Blight.
It's the area around
Shale Ghul.
Shale Ghul.
They're Tarwin's Gap goes into the blasted lands. But they're not. They're just in Shinar right now.
Right. They're in the northern lands. It's way colder up here. This is still... It's like going up to Canada.
Yeah.
And they've got those high-peaked roofs so that the snow slides off the sides.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
But that's why they're all high-peaked, is because that's the only way the weight of the snow doesn't collapse your roof.
That makes sense. Rand notices trees split open as if struck by lightning. The cold, Lan answered, and he describes how trees can explode if they freeze hard enough.
And that's totally a real thing.
Yeah.
That happens. That's crazy scary.
I've seen it. It's cool.
I've heard it. Because like you can stand in the middle of the forest and like listen for the booms in the distance. It's really cool.
I wonder how cold it has to. It's way into the negatives, right?
I don't know. I think just as long as it's persistently cold enough, because you're freezing the sap inside the trees, and it has to get cold enough to do that for a while. So I'm guessing like
for the sap to expand to that degree.
So I'm guessing if it got really cold, it could happen, but also if it stayed pretty cold for a while, it could also happen over time. But that's just a guess. Colder than it gets in Portland.
So they're passing by farms and just noticing that they're passing through this abandoned village or this abandoned rural place.
Yeah, the area around the castle, basically. Any place that's not got walls. And they notice it's been, 10 days or so?
Yeah, Perrin calls that.
Yeah. He's able to see the rust on the blade because he's got the enhanced eyes.
Yeah, his eyes come up again here.
And he's like, why didn't you see that? You should be able to see that. And at this point, he doesn't know just how much, or he doesn't realize how much better his eyesight is than everyone else's.
But Rand is noticing it right away.
Exactly. He's like, that's an odd thing. How did he see that?
How could he even see that from here?
Yeah.
Which is the rust on the side that I don't think we even said.
Because the girls see the curtains and they're like, those curtains are outdated. And the boys are like, the rust on the side is
just Perrin. Nobody else can see that.
Well, no one else can see it, yeah, but that's what he looks at and notices.
Yeah.
And the other thing I just want to talk about is the reason these people have fled, right? There has been a great gathering of Trollocs.
A lot of raids all throughout the winter, we find out later.
And so they know there's an army coming, and they are hiding in the castle.
Yeah. Even when they get into Fal Dara, they describe it as, packed. Right.
Well, everyone from the countryside is gone there for shelter.
Yeah.
Which is what castles used to be about, right? I mean, this is true medieval castle style, where everyone sort of lives in the fields and works and pays tithes to the Lord.
Right.
And then when an invading army comes, they all flee into the castle behind the protection of its walls while the army goes out and fights. And so this is a very old style medieval protection.
Well, it's very real, I guess, more so than a place like Camelin, because there are actually Trollocs.
Right, they're under constant threat of war.
Yeah.
So they have to be ready for it. And their castles are built to be ready for it.
The town of Fal Dara was built on hills higher than in the surrounding country. It was nowhere near as big as Camelin, but the wall around it was as high as Camelin's. For a full mile outside that wall in every direction, the ground was clear of anything, taller than grass. I just have a few of the descriptions outlined. Where the walls of Camelin had a beauty about them, the builders of Fal Dara seemed not to have cared if anyone thought their wall was beautiful. The grey stone was grimly implacable, proclaiming that it existed for one purpose alone, to hold. Pennants atop the hoardings whipped in the wind, making the stooping Black Hawk of Shinar seem to fly all along the walls. Land tells everyone to take off their hoods, basically, because you might be shot, is the way I'm perceiving it. You shouldn't approach the guards with your face obscured in any way.
Right, because they might think you're a fade.
Right.
And if they think you're a fade, they're going to shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, well, your hood was up. Sorry. That's why you're full of arrows, because that's the only way to stop a fade. So a little bit before that, doesn't Moiraine talk about seeing the Green Man twice?
I think during the conversation with Agelmar in a second. There's a nice description of the inner keep that's surrounded by this moat with steel spikes in it, and it's all very intimidating looking, and like we were saying, super utilitarian as opposed to the inland cities, if I can use that word there.
I really like Agelmar's description of it later when he talks about the placement of a single line can have just as much beauty as all the intricate carving.
Yeah.
And how you appreciate it. And for all of you people out there, I mean, I'm a big Apple fan, although I don't agree with some of the stuff they've been doing lately. But that beauty of a single well-placed line is their philosophy and what that's all about. And I think Agelmar sort of captures that in his little description. But there's also build it to use it.
Right.
And both of those are super important concepts, and I like the way they come together in my head it's why I really like the Borderlanders
As a culture.
and they don't bullshit. They just say it the way it is, which is, why I think Lan's personality is so appealing. Lan never says one extra word than he has to.
He's a Spartan.
Yeah.
He's John Wayne.
Yeah.
John Wayne with a katana.
And so, imagine the Spartans up on the Borderlands constantly fighting Trollocs, a constant inhuman enemy that wants to take you and use you for food and sacrifice to their dark god. You might be a little badass.
Yeah. It was pretty vivid, that description back there. And I think when you get into the city a bit, that these are really like a people living in fear.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we were just saying constant threat. This might be repetitive, but it felt really vivid to me.
This is a threat a little more on the nose than it's been in a while. The number of Trollocs that they know are amassing in Tarwin's Gap, they know they can't stop it. 10-1, I think, are the odds that Algamar lays out. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Especially, Trollocs are supposedly individually better fighters than humans, one-on-one. The average human, the average farmer with a pitchfork. Probably not the average Borderlander, but even so, like, Trollocs are supposed to be big and vicious and mean. And outnumbered 10-1, you're going down. And they know it.
There's a description here where Ingtar, I think, is telling Land how bad things are.
And just shout out, Dark Friend alert.
Oh, I'm glad you did that.
Ingtar is a Dark Friend. He does a few things that we'll talk about later, but just keep in mind that whenever he speaks, he is full of guilt. I kind of like how everyone greets Moiraine and Lan. It's
Deshawn.
Yeah.
I think they're
Hi, Deshawn.
talking mostly to Lan.
Mostly, but they know Moiraine too. These two have come to the Borderlands to fight in the Blight many times.
Yeah.
Come here often? No. Hey, Patrick. Are you sure? Here's your regular.
Doesn't he sacrifice himself in the end?
He does. He is probably the only Dark Friend redemption story we get. I think he might be the only Dark Friend who comes back to the light. And I don't really count Varen because she was always kind of in the light. She never really went bad. She just she was always a double agent. Ingtar was a bad guy who came back to the light. Whereas Varen was always a good person who was just in unfortunate circumstances.
How did she end up? What was her reason for
joining?
Yeah.
She was researching them, and it became a join or die situation.
Oh.
So she was like, well, I don't want to die, and I can use this opportunity to study them, and why not? So she does. And she studies the hell out of them for Egwene's benefit.
Eglamar says people are whispering that the world is ending, and the Dark One is loose, when he's talking about how Shinar is riding to Tarwin's Gap alone.
I think the armies have just amassed too quickly for them to really respond. They haven't even been able to send out messages for help. It's been 10 days.
Yeah.
That's like barely time to get a message to someone, much less get a response or have help arrive. So they're really on their own.
Oh, where does it say 10 days? Or 10 days since...
Well, that's just the amount of time the Outland has been abandoned. Because that's how long Perrin says the rust accumulated on the blades. I don't know if there was an event that triggered them all to abandon their farms, but I assume that they got word that there was an army amassing 10 days ago. And that's when
makes sense.
All the farmers left their villages and headed for the castle, the keep.
Egilmar is hoping that Lan and Moiraine have come to fight in the battle, and Moiraine has to turn him down. Just have underlined, you must fight your battle in wee hours.
Because he's right. An Aes Sedai would be amazing in battle, as we see later, especially one of Moraine's strength. She is a pretty amazing battle. She should almost be Green Aja. She's so good.
She does seem pretty green sometimes.
And then Lan, he's saying, you fly your banner and we'll get people flocking.
Yeah,
from
people
everywhere.
will come just because you're here.
Yeah. So once you put your banner up, it'll double our troops, We won't have to send out messages for help. People will flock just to fight at your side.
Yeah.
But Lan he's suffering. Like, he really is struggling here because he's got this conflict of duty where he really wants to help out the borderlands.
Yeah.
He really wants to. I mean, this is his life's duty, is to fight in the, spit in the eye of the Dark One, to fight in the Blight, to kill Trollocs. That's what he is born to do. But he's sworn to Moiraine.
Yeah. He's still in that place in his head where he wants to die that way.
Right. He thinks it's his battle to fight alone.
Yeah.
That's the journey he has to go through, is he has to discover the fact that it's not his battle to fight alone. He has to share the battle against the Dark One is everyone's fight, not just his. And he has to let them fight. But here he's not there yet. Plus, he understands that not the true battle, but another more important battle is being fought with just Moiraine. And he knows that. He's been there by Moraine's side. He knows everything she knows.
Yeah.
And so he knows that this fight at the Eye of the World really could be more important than what happens at the Gap.
Luckily, they'll be at both places.
Yeah, well, that's magic for you.
Oh, this is where what I was talking about earlier, when Moiraine says, "Need is the key," Moiraine said softly when she's talking about finding the Green Man.
Mm-hmm.
And there can be no greater need than mine, than ours. And I have something those other seekers have not. Her eyes barely stirred from Agelmar's face, but Rand was sure they drifted towards Loyal, just for an instant, before the Aes Sedai pulled them back. Rand met the Ogier's eyes, and Loyal shrugged. "Ta'veren," the Ogier said softly. Agelmar threw up his hands.
She's got a lot of things. She has an Ogier, which does help.
Yeah.
She has an incredible need, and she has, of course, the Dragon Reborn, which is the real reason why she has an advantage. She has the need because of Rand.
3 Ta'veren to twist fate for her.
And she's definitely thinking too much about the Dragon Reborn here. I think later we get a sentence from here where she's like, I've been thinking too much about the Dragon Reborn and not enough about the 2 Ta'veren that were with him and what they would mean. But then at some point she's like, but they're off on the winds, so there's not much I can do about it. And I notice here she says, "I know where he is," in referencing the Green Man. And I'm like, you know where he was.
Yeah. Do you have to go to a specific spot in the Blight?
No, he moves around. And that's why, no one can find him unless he chooses to find you.
Gotcha.
Because he can just move wherever he just goes where he goes. And so the Eye of the World is where you need it to be.
I can't wait to read the Green Man scenes again.
Yeah, I'm so sad that he's such a short-lived character.
Yeah, it would be cool if he was around.
And yeah, she also can't take anyone else because they might not need in the same way. They might not have the same need to find the Eye of the World. They may be seeking it for glory or some other purpose.
Right.
So she's like, we can't take anyone else if we're going to find the Eye. It's part prophecy, part just too many people into the Blight, you'll call a bunch of attention to yourself. You'd need the whole army to carve your way through the Blight, and then they'd be decimated. So that's stupid.
Yeah, and she's saying the Green Men wouldn't come to meet an army, or even if there was one amongst us who didn't have the need, or was there for glory.
So basically, now that I retold that whole scene line for line, let's move on. Everyone knows about the 2 rivers because they all smoke 2 rivers tobacco.
Right. Agelmar pulls them out in a minute.
Right. So I can't remember if anyone's like, "Where's the 2 rivers?" But I feel like whenever Rand and Perrin or anyone is like, "I'm from the 2 rivers," people should be like, "Oh yeah, I know where that is. I smoke their tobacco." Because everybody has it. Everybody knows it's the best. So it's not like a little hidden village.
Because of its tobacco products.
Yes. Tobacco and tobacco-related products.
Yeah, like we know about rural Virginia. There's not a lot else going on out there. In rural Virginia? You're giving me a look.
Well, there's quite a few other drugs going on in there, but...
Oh, well, these days. But yeah. I think of tobacco as coming from Virginia.
Oh, totally. It's one of the last states to outlaw smoking in bars for that reason.
Makes sense. Last time I was in Tennessee, I smoked in a bar, and it was legal. It was a long time ago. Maybe 6 years ago?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of a workaround where if the owner is the only employee, he can make smoking allowed in the bar.
Oh, weird.
I don't know what state that is. So this is where Algomar says that line about the beauty of a Stark line.
And kind of wax poetic here for a second with Lan.
The poetry of the Borderlanders. Stark, simple, but very pretty.
Yeah. Poetry for killers.
Yeah. Kind of the songs the Aiel sing. Simple, to the point, effective, but also very good.
A soldier comes in and interrupts and tells Egwene about Fain, and they drag him in.
Right. So he's been following the group. He got caught up in the Black Wind, so he's just gotten out of that. And then he tried to get in because he's still following the three boys.
Yeah.
And he's like filthy and like just absolutely disgusting smelling. And he's going, he's got this Lugard accent, which is, that's Fain. Fain is from Lugard. And then he switches to this haughty, like noble accent, which is totally Mordeth. And so you can tell which one of those two is speaking based on the accent that he's talking in.
Oh, totally. And he does a back and forth here that we're get used to in the future. The soldier says he was confronted by guards and ran off, and then they found him later climbing one of the walls. Bizarrely. He's a total monster now.
He's insane, like he's okay with it, but he's insane. But then we sort of get this simpering, whimpering Fain who's crying about the man with the burning eyes, who is of course Ishmael.
Torturing him and making him do things.
Right. And then he switches to Mordeth, and he's like, I'm soon, that weakness, I'll be rid of it soon. And it's like, yeah, pretty much. I mean, Fain's personality, I would say, almost entirely disappears at some point.
Yeah, he's really more Mordeth at the end.
Yeah. And then he sort of goes off on his craziness. He talks about friends of the dark rather than dark friends. He continually calls Lord Algomar the Great Lord, but the Great Lord is what he calls the Dark One. So if you reread that again...
Oh, that's strange. It is strange that he says that, but I just took it as something old-fashioned.
No, he's just repeating, Great Lord, Great Lord, Great Lord. He's basically like praying to the Dark One there.
He says, I can show you how to scour the shadow from the land.
So that's a bit of like Mordeth's little touch.
Yeah, it is really weird now that I'm rereading it with that in mind. Keep saying things like, Great Lord, you will be a man remembered. Great Lord, he will crush you in the end. Like, you could take any of these sentences and, like, it's a few different ways.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, weird.
Anyway, it's just, it's Fain's ranting. They're some of my favorite little nonsensical, evil poetry. I really enjoy reading his stuff.
Yeah.
As he switches between accents and, like, Jordan is so good at writing multiple different kinds of insanity. Everyone's insane in their own unique little way that I love it. I love getting into all the insane characters that he writes.
That's a fair assessment. Rand being a major one.
Yeah, Rand being one. I mean, certainly a bunch of the other men of the Black Tower.
Man, I haven't reread any of those scenes in a while, but like how everybody's madness manifests in different ways. When you see a lot of these guys' perspective, like there's one guy that's like being hunted by Myrddraal all the time, and he sees them like, lurking in the corners.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a guy where spiders are all over everything.
Yeah. Yep. Both of those. And then also even the way that Egwene is a little insane after being captured by the Seanchan. Like she has some serious issues.
More like PTSD, but yeah.
But I mean, that's the different kinds of insanity that he's able to create and write into these characters. The overwhelming egotistical insanity of Elida.
If Robert Jordan is anything, he's a really great character writer. Like keeping track of all of them and having it be so consistent with so many characters, it's really kind of an amazing feat.
I mean, in some ways, it's why I love the series, more so than the plot or anything that's going on, although I love that too. It's that each one of these characters are unique individuals to me and have become my friends over time.
Yeah.
And it's, I'm always want to live with them, and this has been a blast. But he has always been a great author, and that I think is what keeps me coming back to these novels.
Oh, me too. Some of the writing's just really pretty. That's why I like reading the descriptions of things and in each chapter we go through. This is pretty much the end of my notes.
Yeah, the last thing I had is just that Matt is clutching his dagger under his coat. I was wondering, Fain doesn't really seem to be tuned into the dagger here. He's not, like, salivating over it in the same way that he does later on. I feel like that might be because his two parts aren't integrated, and so maybe he still doesn't need the dagger in the way he does later.
Yeah.
When Fain is assumed by Mordeth.
I'm not sure about that. It does seem like he should be able to sense it or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
because he's related to Shadar Logoth, like this same.
It's a good point that he hasn't stolen it yet, so he's actually never touched the dagger.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe he hasn't formed any connection to it yet, but he steals it when Matt gets back. Yeah, because he steals it with the horn. So he has to have some connection with it. I don't know.
Yeah, he takes the whole thing, though, right? Like the chest, the horn, the dagger, or the whole chest.
Right. Why is the dagger in the chest?
Because when they come back, there's a bunch of Aes Sedai there. And do they do something then with the dagger?
They're going to, but it gets stolen, so they never get a chance.
That's right.
I don't know why it's in the chest.
Can't remember.
Or does he steal it separately? No, he doesn't steal it separately and put it in the chest because he's frustrated because he can't get it out.
No, I'm pretty sure they're all together.
Yeah.
I think they lock up the dagger on purpose.
Yeah. Is it just to like block the evil waves coming off of it a little bit?
I would assume so.
That it's just a well-sealed chest? Because Moiraine has no problem opening up the chest.
We'll see when we get there.
Yeah. But that was the last little bit I had, and if you just want to close it up, we'll button it up and call it a night.
I have here, I'm afraid he's more than a peddler, Lord Agelmar, Moiraine said. Less than human, worse than vile, more dangerous than you can imagine. He can be bathed after I have spoken with him. I dare not waste a minute.
So she jumps into action because she needs information. And this is where we get a lot of Fain's story because she interviews him.
In the next chapter?
In the next chapter, yeah.
Oh, that'll be a good one. Jeez, how many pages are in this?
Yeah,
I was like, we're getting close to the end, but
yeah, we're coming pretty much up on the end of the book. It's kind of exciting. Everything's really accelerates from here on out. You know, we're in the downhill part of the book where we're coming to.
80 pages, like not that much really.
There's just so much action in the next 100 pages or 80 pages.
6 more chapters.
Yep. All right, guys, get excited. We'll be done with the Eye of the World in less than a month.
December, we'll be starting The Great Hunt. Figure we'll just break right into it. We've talked about maybe taking a week off or something, but we may not even do that. I'm not sure. We can if we want.
Sure. Yeah, we'll think about it when we get there. I mean, most likely we'll just, we enjoy, I enjoy doing this. I'm probably not going to stop.
Yeah. If we took a week off from recording, it would be to work on other podcast stuff.
Right. Yeah, that's the only reason is just to free up time to do all the other associated junk that we have to do. Which is, as I'm discovering, significant.
Yeah.
All the social media stuff is fun, but it does take up time. And I'm also, we're working on other things. You've got another podcast going. We're trying to bring on more and diverse guests, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to do that.
Yeah.
Sort of what format we're going for. And, I think we want to bring John Michael back again, too, and talk to him again.
Sure.
We have a few other people in mind. But I want to work on the whole live format.
Yeah, and how we want to organize it.
Right. I'm almost there with the artwork. I just heard from Leah, the artist. She said she's going. She really only has like 1 or 2 sessions left to really get it done. So there's a good chance it'll be done very soon. Since it's on her own time, she does it when she has time. But I'm really liking the way it's looking. I can't wait to see it finished.
It'll be cool to have our own banner and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm just going to plaster it everywhere once we have that. I'm going to put it, we'll have buttons and stickers that'll go out. And I'm thinking I might just we might sell t-shirts.
Yeah.
Put on it. I want some t-shirts. And so that's a thought.
That would be cool. I have to look into the logistics of it, but yeah, that would be fun. And a good way to raise money for more and better equipment.
Right.
Computers that aren't falling apart.
Right. Guys, our computers are in a state of total disrepair. My laptop screen is crushed. It's an ancient computer. It's hooked up to a cheap-ass external monitor with terrible resolution. Patrick just bought a computer that died after 3 weeks. We need help.
We mentioned that at the top.
We need help. We need better computers. Or
maybe
ones.
T-shirts.
Yeah, T-shirts. Sure. Can you buy a computer with T-shirts?
Maybe.
And the logo will go up on the Patreon page and the website, so it won't just be the map. So we're not just stealing someone else's art.
Yeah, I try to mainly post pictures that have a watermark on them, so I don't really have to worry about thanking the
artist.
Yeah, or crediting, because if it's in the image.
Right. I mean, if you can, you should throw a link in the description.
Yeah, I could.
That's always just courtesy, because if you can drive click traffic, they can sort of track that, and they might be able to then reference us back again.
That would be cool.
So that's not a bad idea if you.
Yeah, I've thought about getting in touch with more people, but it's just a whole new thing to open up,
Whenever we can, we should give credit to the artist, though. Patrick's getting water. Yeah, I love Lan. He's such a good character. I always wanted to be Lan. Always. I felt like a Perrin, but I wanted to be a Lan.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?